Hello and welcome to our full and complete Natasha guide. In this video we're going to be talking about Natasha, who is a must-build character in Honkai Star Rail. Natasha is an amazing healer and will make sure your team doesn't die, but on top of that she can also work as a buffer and a tank if you build her correctly. To do this we'll go over her kit as well as her best Lightcones, Relics, and teams, so you can turn your Natasha into an incredible healer that will be even better than Bailu in a lot of situations. If you guys have any questions, be sure to ask in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. But before we start, I'd like you to know that this is our first character guide on our journey to make a guide for all Honkai Star Rail characters. So if you guys like this guide, then be sure to subscribe so you guys can get more in-depth Honkai Star Rail guides in the future. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is her overall playstyle and kit. It is going to differ from other characters because you guys have different abilities than characters like Bailu. So the first thing that's going to be very important is her skill. Now her skill is going to heal you guys' allies and it's going to be the thing that you guys are going to be using the most. Now you might not need to use it every single turn, and sometimes your characters will be at full health, especially after using an ultimate, but you guys can even use it when your guys' characters are at max health. This is because she actually has a trace that allows you to remove debuffs from one of your allies. Now this can remove debuffs like burn or freeze, and in fights where you're going against enemies that can freeze you, removing freeze from your DPS or another unit can actually be very helpful. Now this is actually the one thing that makes her kind of competitive with Bailu. Now Bailu is going to heal a lot more, mainly due to her kit and having invigoration, as well as her higher scaling. But due to this cleanse, Natasha is just ultimately going to work a lot better in some boss fights. So her cleanse is actually the first thing that it does. It can also heal. Now on top of the initial heal, you guys are also going to get either a 2 or 3 round heal, depending on the trace level of your guys' Natasha, and that's going to be able to heal you for even more. So this is actually going to be very beneficial, especially if your characters get hit the turn after you're healed, because then you could just heal some of that back. The next part of her kit that I want to talk about is her ultimate, and actually the benefits of her ultimate. Well, the first thing about it is that it only costs 90 energy. That's a very low energy cost. Now if you guys are using an energy percent link rope, or if you guys have C4, which will give you 5% energy every time you guys get hit, you guys will be able to regenerate your guys' energy back very fast and make sure that you guys are constantly healing your teammates. Now if you guys actually pair Natasha with another shielder, which you guys are going to have to do probably for some Forgotten Hall content when you're facing higher level enemies, you guys are going to have a shield and then be able to constantly heal off of the shield, meaning that it's going to be very hard for your team to die, and you guys are going to be able to get 3 stars a lot easier, because to get 3 stars you cannot have characters dying. So overall the kit is going to be very nice and very useful. You guys are going to be able to use your guys' skill to cleanse when you guys need to, which is going to be helpful in a lot of boss fights, and you guys can just use your normal attack if you guys are trying to shred shield and your characters are already at full HP and you don't need to cleanse anything. Now Natasha is going to be physical, while Bailu is going to be a lightning unit, which means that if you guys have multiple healers, you guys can decide to use those healers as soft shield breakers when they're not healing. Now the reason this is good is because if you guys have both of these characters, or if you guys end up going for Luocha in the future, you guys will have more flexibility when it comes to who you guys want to use, and it will give you the ability to break whichever shield you guys need in that situation. So Natasha is a must-build character even if you guys do have Bailu, because she's going to be able to break shields better in some situations, which is why I would recommend building her regardless of your account, even if you guys have Luocha and Bailu in the future once both of them are out. Now that's all I wanted to talk about for playstyle and kits and deciding which healer you guys should use in your guys' party. So next let's go on to the Lightcones, so you guys can know which Lightcones that you guys are going to want to use in your guys' teams to get the most value out of it. Now the actual very good things about Natasha and Abundance characters in general is that Abundance character Lightcones are very free to play friendly, and they have the widest variety of good Lightcones out of any path. Now on screen I'm put the Abundance weapon rankings for Natasha, so you guys can easily know which Lightcone you guys should use on the account. The ones with yellow numbers are going to be your free to play options that are either 3-star or that you can get from Forgotten Hall. And coincidentally, the Forgotten Hall weapon, which you can get for free, is currently the second best weapon available based on the testing and comparisons I've done. So you guys will already have this weapon because you guys can get it from the story, and then if you guys want copies, you guys can get it from Forgotten Hall. The other amazing thing about there being so many good Lightcones is that even if you guys have 2 different characters, you guys are bound to have at least 2 of the top 4 Lightcones, and if you guys don't, you guys will be able to get them pretty easily just by doing Forgotten Hall. So you might want to not superimpose some of your Lightcones, especially if you have 2 healers. It would be better to have 2 quid pro quos rather than superimposing one into the other, especially if you guys have two healers. So just keep that in mind when deciding which one that you guys ultimately want to use. Now I think we should talk about some of the light cones and why they're good. So we'll be talking about the top 4 highest light cones and then the best 3-star option as well. So the first one I want to talk about is called Perfect Timing. So what this does is it increases your effect resistance on your character by 16%, and it also increases your outgoing healing based on your effect resistance. Now the reason this is going to be very good for your guys' characters is because you guys are going to get a healing boost, but also an effect resistance boost, which will basically make it so that you will have a much lower likelihood of getting frozen or stunned or anything like that, which basically means that you guys will not end up in situations where you guys are not able to heal. For example, if your character gets frozen, then you guys are not going to be able to get enough energy for that turn, and on top of that, you guys won't be able to use your skill to heal or cleanse another teammate that turn. This will basically make it so that you'll actually just be taking a whole bunch of damage, and it can end up causing your team to die, especially against enemies that do a lot of damage, because you guys are going to need to be healing pretty much every turn and keeping shields up at all times, especially in places like Memory of Chaos, Forgotten Hall, or Simulated Universe, where the content actually gets hard and you guys are going to be taking a lot of damage. So having the ability to resist effects that are put on you, such as freeze or imprisonment, will allow you guys to have higher survivability and be able to heal more in those harder boss fights. The next icon I want to talk about is Quid Pro Quo, which we mentioned earlier, and at the start of the wearer's turn, it regenerates 8 energy for a random ally whose energy is currently lower than 50%. Now the reason this is going to be insanely strong is because 8 energy could just be that push you guys need to get an ultimate off on another character, whether that be a shielding character like Japard, who can get his ult and literally save your team because of that, or whether it allows you guys to get extra energy on a DPS character so that they can do more damage. It's ultimately going to push you guys that extra mile to be able to allow you guys to get more ultimates off, and this is going to be very important and can save you in a lot of battles, which is why I'm ranking it at the number 2 light cone, and it's even more important than the light cones that can give you healing, because this can ultimately push you forward so much more than an extra bit of healing can. The next one is Bailu's 5-star light cone, which increases your max HP, your outgoing healing, and also basically works like Ocean Hued Clam from Genshin, where it deals damage based on the amount of healing that you guys do. The main good part of this is actually going to come from the HP percent increase and the healing increase rather than the damage, because the damage is going to be not that much and you really don't need your healer to be doing DPS anyways, because their main job is to heal. So it is going to be very good for increasing your healing, but the extra damage it does isn't going to be super significant to the point where doing a lot of damage. It's going to do way less than your other characters will in the first place. It does have 5-star stalings, which make it pretty good, but I would still rank it lower than the other ones just because of the overall utility that it has being not as good. The fourth one is going to be post-op conversation, which is kind of tied with the other one and depends on what you guys want to go for. But what this does is it basically gives you an energy regeneration rate boost up to 16% and also increases your guys' outgoing healing. Now the reason this is good is because energy regeneration rate is just broken in general. We're going to be talking about later how you guys are going to want to run energy regeneration ropes and possibly even the energy regeneration set just to get you guys' ult back incredibly fast, because having your ult up more is going to allow you to get more healing in general. So overall, it's going to provide you with an outgoing healing boost and also allow you guys to heal more overall. So in long fights especially, this is going to allow you to get off multiple more ults than you guys would have before, meaning that your team is going to be able to survive much easier. And lastly, I just want to touch up on the 3-star option, which basically increases the outgoing healing of your guys' skill or ultimate by 12%, which is just not going to be a bad option. If you guys don't have the other ones, which you guys will have quid pro quo pretty much since you guys can get it very easily, this is going to be a good filler replacement, especially for those low level players who may not have access to the higher stuff or who may not have done the story and looking to build her like a little bit, you know, get into the game and getting the character building. But yes, this is going to be your best option for those low level players, so I'd recommend this if you guys want to use it. So that's all I wanted to touch upon for Lightcones. So now let's get into the juicy part, which is the relics. And the relics can completely change your guys' play style and how Natasha works, providing her with the ability to attack more and not get stuck at the bottom of the queue order, which is a big problem that Natasha ends up having, where she's kind of stuck at the bottom of the queue order due to her low speed. This happened with characters like Japard as well, due to them just not having overall high speed compared to other characters, which is why you guys are going to want to run speed boots. Speed boots are going to be probably the most important artifact that you guys can run on Natasha, because they'll allow you guys to get more hits off. And one other thing, at the start of multiple wave contents, the turn order will actually reset. Now this means that the speed calculations are going to be redone, and it's going to reorganize the order of your characters. So if you guys are clearing a bunch of like waves, your Natasha may just never even get to go, and your teammates may be at very low HP. So having her on higher speed is going to allow her to basically not fall to the bottom and allow her to build up her ult and use her skill or her auto attack. So I just wanted to bring that up before we go into anything else, because the speed boots, if you guys have a speed boots, it doesn't matter what it is if it's offset, just use speed boots on her. Now as for the sets you guys are going to want to run, the set I would recommend is Passerby of the Wandering Cloud. Now you guys can get this set, a complete purple set, for free, and you guys can just use that. It will give you basically all the stats you guys need to just be good and have a decent build besides the speed boots. Now you guys won't be able to get enough speed anyways at this point in the game with purple boots. You guys are going to have to wait until you get some legendary speed boots before you can reach the threshold for speed that we guys want to reach, but it's still going to be a good option. It's going to carry you up into pretty much level 50 or even level like 55-ish. I'm still using the purple set and she's healing just fine for me, so you guys can pretty much use this set for a very long time and you get it for free, so it's going to be good. And basically what this set does is it increases the outgoing healing by 10% with the 2-piece. Now this is just going to be good because you guys obviously are going to want more healing. Nothing's wrong with more healing, it's just a good set. But the 4-piece is going to be very strong because at the start of every battle it's going to immediately regenerate a skill point. So this will make it so that you start every single battle off skill point positive. Having 0 skill points or very low skill points at the beginning of a battle can be very bad, and it's not something that you guys want to get you guys yourself into. So having that extra skill point at the beginning of every battle will make it so you guys can use more skills and you'll have more freedom when it comes to skill point usage. So I would recommend definitely using this. It is probably the most broken thing in the entire game. Okay, maybe not the most broken thing in the entire game, but it is going to be very good, and the 4-piece is going to be something you guys want. But as we talked about earlier, prioritize speed boots. If you can run a 3-piece of this and then you have to run speed boots from another set, it is going to be worth it because the speed boots are actually going to play into the Planar Ornaments that we guys are running. So the Planar Ornaments we're going to be talking about is actually 2 sets, and it depends on what you guys want to run. So the first set is going to be called Sprightly Von Whack. Okay, so what this does is it increases the wearer's energy regeneration rate by 5%, and when the wearer reaches 120 speed or higher, then the wearer's action is advanced forward 40% immediately upon entering battle. Now this is going to be more useful on other characters, but the reason it's still useful on Natasha is because energy regeneration rate on every single character is just going to be OP. You can get your ult back faster, and it's basically going to provide you with a large healing boost. Now the speed being 120 or higher and advancing your action forward at the start of a battle basically means that you guys literally won't have to worry about her getting caught behind in the queue order at the beginning of a battle. So if you guys need to either heal a teammate or do something else, you guys can use your auto attack or heal, and you guys can get some energy back right at the beginning of the battle, because advancing your action forward by 40% is going to be a major difference between not doing that. So being able to go first means that you guys are going to get more energy regeneration on top of also having a higher energy regeneration rate. So this is going to give you energy regeneration rate and then also just give you more energy since you guys have been moved up in the turn order. So it's going to be overall a very good set for regenerating energy and getting guys' ult back faster. So it's one of these sets that I'm going to recommend. Now the second set that I'm going to recommend is going to be a little bit different than this one, and this set actually turns Natasha into basically a soft buffer. Now the set we're talking about is Fleet of the Ageless, and what this does is it increases the wearer's mastery speed by 12%, which will allow you to heal more since her healing scales off of her HP. And also when the wearer's speed reaches 120 or higher, all allies' attack increases by 8%. Now this is a multiplicative attack increase rather than a normal attack increase. Now the reason this is going to be good is because it's going to increase your guys' attack attack of all your allies. Now this is going to be very important because it's basically going to allow you guys to do more damage, and it's going to allow her to act as a buffer when you guys don't need as much energy regeneration rate or you guys aren't as focused on heals. Now, the increasing her match XP by 12% is basically going to give you guys a healing boost in and of itself. So you guys are still getting the healing boost, but this healing boost is coming in the form of higher healing numbers rather than more frequent healing, so it kind of evens out. The other one's still going to be better for healing, but what this does is it makes it so that you guys can kill the enemies faster, so you guys won't have to heal as much. Now, I'm still going to recommend the other one over this, but it's ultimately up to you which one you guys want to use. Now that we've talked about the actual sets, I want to talk about the sub-stats and main stats that you guys are going to be looking for on all of the stats. Now, the main thing that you guys are going to want to be looking for is main stats, because on healer, sub-stats are actually just not as useful and they won't provide as much as sub-stats will on main DPSs or on your other characters. So instead of farming for good sub-stats on these, I would recommend just farming for good main stats and then moving on to your other characters to make them stronger, since they will benefit more from sub-stats. Now on screen, I've actually put a little graphic to show you guys what you guys are going to want. Now feel free to pause the video and take your time looking at these to make sure you guys can just internalize what you guys are going to want. But we talked about speed boots earlier, just mainly for speed. HP and attack are just going to be on the flower in gauntlets because there's not really much else you can run on them. Energy regen on the robe just so you can get your stuff back faster, and then outgoing healing or HP percent on the body, just depending on what you guys want. Outgoing healing is going to provide more healing, but HP is going to provide more survivability, so it ultimately depends on what you guys want. But personally, I would run outgoing healing and then run HP or defense percent on the little ball thing, because an extra bit of HP will increase your healing, and then also a bit of extra defense would be nice just for tankability. But I would overall run HP on the ball and then on the body run outgoing. So that is actually all we really have for the guide today. We can summarize things a little bit. Just overall, Natasha is an incredibly flexible healer and she works in a large number of teams. Now, in terms of placement, I would recommend placing her on the very far side or the second most far side next to a tank. Now, the reason you guys want to put like tank characters on the side is so if your tank character gets hit with like a multi-target attack, it'll only attack 2 characters instead of 3. And the thing about abundance characters and preservation characters is they actually have higher aggro values, meaning they are more likely to be attacked than your other characters. So you don't want to put Natasha next to your most squishy characters, because that's just overall not going to work super well, because if you put her next to a squishy character, she may not take a lot of damage, but the squishy character may take a lot of damage. So just keep stuff like that in mind when you guys are organizing your teams. I'm sure you guys have already heard about this before, but yeah, overall just make sure you place them in the right place. Now that is all I wanted to talk about today regarding Natasha. I know it's a bit of a long video compared to what we normally make, but we are going to be making guides that are very in-depth, pretty long, because we have to talk about a lot of information. So as we talked about earlier, I'm going to be making more guides like this one, and they will only get better as time goes on because it's the first one I've made. So if you guys enjoyed this one, then be sure to subscribe so you guys can get more good Honkai Star Rail guides in your guys' inbox whenever you guys go on YouTube. So that's all we have for today. Hopefully this guide helps you guys build your Natasha into a much stronger team, and yeah, that's all I have. See you guys later. That's all I have. See you guys later.